So last class lo we have discussed evolution of power systems. First, how low voltage DC system was established, and there were some problems with respect to the DC system because of the increase in the load demand after invention of the motors. To overcome these problems, so people were thought of using the AC systems. AC completely handled by Westinghouse and DC Edison, and there were a war between the AC and DC, whether we have to go for the AC or DC. Finally, because of the advantage of the transformation of the voltage, the people were looking for AC rather than the DC. Slowly, DC was phased out and AC becoming popular. But to overcome the problems in the DC, 11 Thuri systems were established, and DC series generators were used in series in order to increase the voltage level of the DC system. But because of the cost and because of the maintenance problems, all the Thuri system were dismantled. And later on, so this is in the 1938, all the Thuri system were dismantled, and later on in the year of 1950s, mercury arc valves were developed. After developing this mercury arc valves, there is a chance of converting AC to DC. There is a chance of converting the AC. Earlier, we have generated DC by using the DC generators. But in this, we don't generate the DC. But here, just we will convert AC to DC. So that was possible only after invention of the mercury arc valves. After using this mercury arc valves, it is possible to convert the AC to DC, and we can use the DC from that. Now, in the 1954, the first HVDC transmission between the Sweden and Gotland was established. This is the first. It was not low voltage, or it is not DC. It is a high voltage. So it was the first HVDC transmission system, and it is of distance 70 kilometers, and it was established between Sweden mainland and Gotland Island. It was a cable, so it was connected by the cable. So it was in the year of 1954, and in this HVDC, high voltage DC system, here it is a AC, and we will have the converter at the sending end side, and by using this converter, we will convert AC to DC here. So AC to DC will be converted, and this DC will be transmitted over distances, and later at the end, at the receiving end, again we will have the converter, but this will be the function of this is a inversion. It will convert the DC to AC. It acts as a inverter, and this converter at the sending end acts as a rectifier. So it is a basic structure of HVDC transmission system. At the sending end side, we will have the rectifier, and at the receiving end side, we will have the inverter. AC operating at a certain frequency will be fed to the converter, and this converter, which acts as a rectifier, will convert the AC to DC, with zero frequency, and it will be transmitted over distances, and again at the receiving end side, it will be converted again to the AC with frequency. It is the required frequency. In this manner, so this will be happen with respect to the HVDC transmission system. This was the first HVDC transmission system. Now, why we are going for the HVDC transmission system? Now, let us see. So, what are the advantages of HVDC system? Why we are going for the HVDC system? The first one is the stability problem. With respect to the AC, we have the stability problem. In AC, we have the stability problem. But whereas in a DC, we don't have any such type of the stability problems. That's why it is one of the major advantage of the HVDC system, and there will not be any Ferranti effect, and there is no skin effect also, which is erased because of the AC system, which is erased. These two are erased because of the AC system. It is a reactance problem, and it is a charging problem, capacitance problem. Because of this, receiving end voltage will be greater than the sending end voltage, and the skin effect, the current concentration will be more nearer to the surface of the conductor. It is a skin effect, but it is absent in DC. So it is also one of the advantage. And one more advantage is that power control is possible. Power control is possible in DC system. In AC also we can control it, but before the invention of the FACT devices, power control is not possible in AC system. After invention of the FACT devices, the power control is possible in AC. But before that, approximately in the year of 1990, FACT devices were invented. So after that, the powerful control is possible in AC. But before that, powerful control is not possible in AC. It is only possible in DC system only possible. So if you want to control the power, then you have to go for the DC system before 1990s. It is a one of the advantage. And along with that, the major thing is that asynchronous interconnection is possible. Asynchronous interconnection is possible in DC system. What is this asynchronous interconnection system? If a particular system is operating at 50 Hz, and if another system also operating at 50 Hz, then no problem at all. You can connect these two systems because it is also operating at 50 Hz and it is also operating at 50 Hz. So no problem at all. You can connect it. But if a particular system is operating at 50 Hz and this system is operating at 60 Hz, it is operating at 50 Hz and it is operating at 60 Hz. These cannot be interconnected because this is operating at 50 and this is operating at 60 Hz. So you cannot interconnect directly. So in that case, you can use the HVDC system. How it is possible? Suppose we have this is a system operating at 50 Hz, and this 50 Hz system will be given to the rectifier. So one converter at the sending end side. This will be converted to the DC with zero frequency. And after that, after transmitting some distance, again it will be converted to connected to the inverter at the receiving end side. This is at the sending end and this is at the receiving end side. And this inverter will convert this DC into the AC with required frequency. So if you want to convert the AC into the frequency of 60 Hz, then you can do it. And it will be connected to the system of 60 Hz. Here it is not possible. This is also 50, this is also 50 possible. This is the 50 and this is the 60 Hz. AC interconnection is not possible. But here by using the HVDC, it is possible. By using the HVDC, how it happened, the 60 Hz AC system. The 60 Hz AC system at the sending end side given as an input to the rectifier, and this is converted into the 0 Hz supply, and it is transmitted because DC has the zero frequency, and it is transmitted over long distances. And at the receiving end side, we will have the inverter, and this inverter will convert the DC with zero frequency into the AC supply with the required frequency of 60 Hz. So these systems which are operating at different frequencies can be connected by using the HVDC. So that's why it is called as a synchronous interconnection. It is a major advantage of the HVDC system. Suppose nearby to our state, we have the Chhattisgarh, and we are Telangana. Telangana state, let us suppose Telangana state operating at 50 Hz supply, and Chhattisgarh operating at 60 Hz. But due to the deficiency of the power in Chhattisgarh, they want to take the power from Telangana. Yet that case, directly they cannot take. Directly they cannot take. So it is a possible only by using this HVDC system. So already we have this HVDC system near Sealeru. So if anyone visit Sealeru Hydel Power Plant, you can see HVDC system, and thereafter you can see these rectifiers, which are these converters, which are connected in a cascaded manner. So you can see. So it is a asynchronous interconnection is also possible. And along with that, there are the more advantages. Current carrying capability can be enhanced by using the HVDC systems. If you want to transmit, if you want to go for the HVDC system, directly we cannot take up this task. For that, we have the one graph. One graph is there, and in that graph, distance versus cost of transmission will be drawn, and for the AC and DC will be drawn. So like this, it will be the let us suppose it is a AC transmission system, and suppose it is a DC transmission system. So it is the this line is the cost of transmission of AC system, and this is the cost of transmission of DC system. It is a DC. And let us suppose it is a 500 megawatt transmission is there, same. So if this is called as there is an intersecting point at this, it is an intersecting point. It is called as a break-even distance. Break-even distance. If we want to transmit the power less than the break-even distance, the cost of transmission of AC is less. The cost of transmission of AC is less. So you have to go for blindly the transmission of AC system only. So suppose it is a approximately 600 kilometers. It is a 600 kilometers. So if you want to transmit the power less than 600 kilometers, ultimately you have to go for the AC system. Or otherwise, if the distance exceeds 600 kilometers, here the cost of transmission of DC is less. So ultimately, you have to go for the DC system only. This is the break-even distance, and it is a graph drawn between the cost of transmission and this distance. So based upon this is a very important, and moreover, and in HVDC system, they will explain clearly what is this and so what is this cost. So all this will be disclosed, and after the break-even distance, why this DC system will become cheaper also can be discussed. These are the some important points with respect to the HVDC system. It is a transmission from low voltage DC system, and later on single phase AC system, after that three phase AC system, and again HVDC system. So this was happened till now. These are all what we have discussed comes under the evaluation of power system. Any power system engineer should know the basic idea of power system. That's why we are going to discuss the power system operation and control. So that's why you should know how this power system evolved. So that's why we have discussed all these things. Now this is the topic, and it is over. Evaluation of power system topic is over. Now let us go to the some other topic. Now let us see some points with respect to the power system. First, let us discuss about what is meant by power system. This power system is consists of three subsystems. Actually, it is consisting of three subsystems, and these three subsystems are: one is a generation subsystem, and later on it is a transmission subsystem, and distribution subsystem. So this power system consisting of three subsystems, and these three subsystems are the generation subsystem, transmission, and distribution subsystems. Here, this generation, transmission, distribution, each and every has a own responsibilities. Every subsystem has its own responsibilities, and the coordinated control of all these subsystems are very essential, because these three subsystems forms the power system. The coordinated control of all these subsystems are very much necessary for the smooth operation of the power system. So now these generation system, let us see. So it is a generation systems. So many systems are connected like this, and this forms the generation system. And there is a after this like this, and here at the generation side we will have the step up transformer, and after that it will be transmitted certain distances, and later on at the end again we'll have the step down transformer, and later it will be we will have the customers. At the end we will have the customers like this, customers like this. Now what is this? It is a connection of so many generating stations. So all this comes under the generation subsystems, and these generation subsystems are called as a GENCOs. These are all called as a GENCOs. So generation companies. So now again we will have this system. So it is a transmission system. It is called as a transmission system, and this is called as a transco. We are all know about these terms. It is called as a transco. And one more we have at the end. It is called as a distribution subsystem. So distribution subsystem, and these called as a DISCOMs. Like this we have the GENCOs, transco, and DISCOMs. Now what is the responsibility of GENCOs? These GENCOs are responsible for generating the electric power as per the predicted load requirement. So the load may vary on the system, on the power system, that may increase or decrease, but according to that you have to supply the required power. So that's why we need prediction. That comes under the load forecasting. According to that, all these generating stations has to generate the power. This is the primary responsibility of the GENCOs. And now coming to the transco, the essential duties are to provide facilities for the transmission of the required power. So what are the facilities? Those are the conductors and supporting structure, so towers, and whatever it may be comes under the transmission system. Those are all called as a facilities to transmit the required power demand from the generating station to the load center, we require the transcos. The primary responsibility of the transco is to provide the facilities for the transmission of the power to the load centers. That is the primary duty of the transco. So now comes under the DISCOMs. So these DISCOMs are directly connected with the consumers and the entire system. That is a power system. Now this forms the actual link between the system and the customers. So like this, we have the three major subsystems in the entire power system, and combining all these subsystems, it will forms the power system. So what is the power system? So that is that consists of generation subsystem, transmission subsystem, and distribution subsystem. And each and every subsystem has its own responsibilities, and every system has to fulfill their requirements as per the requirement at that time. And the combining functions of all these comes under the power system. It is very much essential. And generating subsystem consisting of all the generation systems. Primary responsibility is to generate the electric power as per the predicted load demand, and transco, so provide the facilities for the transmission of the power demand from the generating station to the load center. And so it is a step-up transformer at the generation side. In order to increase the voltage level, we are using the step-up transformer so that current will be reduced and losses will be reduced and transmitted over distances. And at the load center, again it will be stepped down to the required voltage level, and later on the DISCOMs will be there, and DISCOM will connect this customer with the actual system. So it is the power system scenario. Now let us see one more topic. What is the objective of any power system? What is the objective of any power system? So now the objective of any power system is to generate the electric power only, to generate the electric power at suitable locations, to generate the electric power at suitable locations, and transmit the power to the load center, and distribute it to the consumers, So the major objective of any power system is to generate electric power at suitable locations. If we consider the hydel power plant, we can construct a hydel power plant where the plenty of water is available and where we can construct the dam. So that is a possible location. And we have to transmit the power to the load center and distribute the power to the consumer with reliability and quality, with high reliability, with quality and reliability. That is the major objective of any power system: generation, transmission, distribution with quality and with reliability. So that is, these two are the major objectives of the power system. Now, what is meant by quality here? What is meant by quality? Now, if we talk about this quality is different from situation to situation, but with respect to the power system, the quality is concerned with the voltage and frequency. Quality is concerned with the frequency and voltage. Overall power system, we have to think about the frequency and voltage. So if you maintain the frequency constant, then we can say that the quality is maintained.